Within a few minutes' walk of this beautiful little town centre are three incredibly impressive historical buildings and structures. Today we're here in Haddington in East Lothian, and I thought we'd take a walk and discover those historical buildings. And as always, I'm going to have a look out for some pubs and some restaurants and some bars and other places of interest. But first of all, let's have a quick look round the town centre. That sign says Place d'Aubigny. Almost sounds French, doesn't it? That's the Haddington Law Court. I've actually done jury service in there, and it's a good focal point because here, down the Snicket beside the law courts, is the Loft Cafe and Bakery. The coffee in there is incredible. I think we'll go there after we've visited these historical sites. There's one of the many pubs in Haddington, the Victoria Inn, which is just across the road from the Plough Tavern. If you're a cheese fan, try the Cheese Lady. I'm not really much of a cheese fan myself, though. This is the Haddington Townhouse, the town hall, I guess. Another building steeped in history. Well, in fact, the entire town is steeped in history. Technically, it's a market town. And just below the townhouse, Cafe Luca, another place to get a great cup of coffee. That's a pretty looking little hotel. Mercat Hotel, Market Hotel. One thing you'll notice about the towns in East Lothian, and down into the borders for that matter, and you'll have seen this in recent vlogs, is these buildings with pastel colours on the outside. It makes for a very pretty facade of houses, doesn't it? And that building is almost castle-like, but still in those pastel colours. Well, my son's actually an architect, so I asked him about these pastel shades that seem to appear on buildings in towns throughout Scotland. I wondered whether it was actually an architectural thing, but apparently it's just all about standing out. Now, of course, the paint helps to preserve the masonry, so there's a preservation thing going on, but mainly they want to paint their house in a different colour so that it stands out from the rest. But they always seem to go for pastel shades. I wonder why. You never see anybody painting them bright red or bright grey or bright yellow. Maybe there's an unwritten rule. Pastel shades only, no bright colours. Well, actually, maybe I spoke too soon. Bright pink, not pastel. Well, that was the town centre. Now we're heading to the first of our historical buildings. Just take a look at this. Wow, my goodness, this is St Mary's Parish Church. This is incredible. It almost looks like a cathedral, doesn't it? Very similar in some respects to cathedrals you might see in Durham and Peterborough. They started building St Mary's way back in the 1500s. That was when Henry VIII was on the throne. Oh, look at that magnificent entrance. The power of history is very, very strong here. St Mary's is in fact the longest church in the whole of Scotland. You can tell how old this building is. Just look at those gargoyles, how weathered they've become. Almost unrecognisable as gargoyles. Who would have thought that a small market town like Haddington here in East Lothian would have a gigantic church to rival those of cathedrals in major cities? Now, St Mary's is actually on the banks of the Scottish River Tyne. It's not the River Tyne that runs through Newcastle. Obviously, this one goes into the sea at Dunbar, but it does lead us to our next of our historical structures. Just ahead of us there is the famous Nungate Bridge. Isn't it gorgeous? Just like St Mary's Church, the bridge was built way back in the 1500s. In fact, after it was built, it was severely damaged in 1548 during the famous Siege of Haddington, when it had to be rebuilt. And to get to our third historical building, we've actually got to cross the second. If you come here on a summer's day, it's absolutely gorgeous to take the path that runs alongside the River Tyne. It runs for miles. Look at that beautiful pub, the Waterside, down there on the other side of the river. Well, we haven't got time today to pop into the Waterside for a coffee or indeed a beer, but if you're in Haddington and you've got time, it's well worth a visit. The setting here on the riverbank is absolutely superb. More stunning pastel shades. Here's the Golf Tavern. Another pastel shades. Has anybody got a spare A lying about that they could lend them? Well, our first two historical buildings were built way back in the 1500s, as I said, but this one here dates back even earlier. We're talking 1100s. That's pretty impressive, isn't it? Just beside that beautiful tree is St Martin's Kirk, the oldest church in Haddington, as I said, dated back to the 1100s. Wow. Let's go inside. Once again, you can feel the power of history. You can hear the echo of history. Who would have thought that a small town in East Lothian would have so much ancient history weaved into its infrastructure? You know, isn't it amazing what you can find in your own backyard? 3 magnificent historical buildings just down the road in Haddington. Right, I think it's time to go and have that well-deserved coffee. What do you think? Well, here we are, back down that little snicket next to the law courts. Let's go check out the coffee at the Loft Cafe and Bakery. This is a pretty little cafe. Well, that's a shame. It seems that my walk took a little bit longer than I thought, and the Loft Cafe is closed. What a shame. I was really looking forward to a really nice, strong cup of hot black coffee. Do let me know in the comments what you thought about those beautiful historical buildings. Have you ever been to Haddington? And more to the point, is there anywhere you think I should visit, either here in Scotland or anywhere in the UK and into Europe beyond? Thanks for watching this episode of Rog Vlog. If you enjoyed the video, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Until the next video, remember, there's always something to see. So get out there and find it. Just like St Mary's Church, just like St Mary's Church,